Thank you, and welcome to the Parks, Arts, and Community Services Commission of September 23. I would like to call this meeting to order at 4:01 and invite Vice Chair Rutherford to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you'd all please join me in placing your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. Ms. Fatua, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Andrade Vallarta. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Here.
Commissioner Glab.
Here.
Vice Chair Rutherford.
Present.
Chair Ashendorf.
Present.
Just make sure the attendees, we're not having anyone there. I don't see Andrade Vallarta, so we have 5 commissioners present with Commissioner Andrade Vallarta not here.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of August 26th. Are there any comments or corrections from the commissioners?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
All right. I'll second that.
All right.
And you'll call for the question?
Are there any public members who would wish to speak regarding the minutes of August 26, 2021 meeting?
All right.
I see no hands raised.
Thank you. Then we'll close public comment.
All right. Commissioner Brown.
No comments.
Oh, so this is where we are voting to move forward. So it's yes.
Yes, I.
Okay. Or no,
Thank
whatever you prefer. You're welcome. Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Glab.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rutherford.
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with 1 absent.
Thank you very much. Now is the time for public comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes on items not on this evening's agenda. Ms. Fatua, do we have any members of the public wishing to address the commission this afternoon?
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? If so, please raise your hand. I see no hands raised.
All right, thank you. We'll close public comment then. The next item on the agenda, new business 9A, and we'll go a little bit out of order because I would like to introduce Raja Setharaman to introduce our presenter this evening.
Thank you, Chair Ashendorf, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Rob Ryan is not a new face to this commission, but today he comes to you with a new title. So Rob is appointed as our Maintenance Services Manager. So Rob has almost 20 years of experience and is definitely well qualified, and we look forward to a long service from Rob in his new position.
Thank you very much, Raja. And I read Director Minter's face when I went over an agenda item. So we will return to commissioner comments. And first I'd like to invite Vice Chair Rutherford to share any comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No comments this evening. Just remind everybody, please go get vaccinated. Remind all your friends and family who aren't, get vaccinated. And I'd like to echo the congratulations to Mr. Ryan. You've done an impeccable job. In the time that we've got to know each other, And also a warm goodbye to Cynthia DeGosta, whose retirement party I missed today due to work.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Just two quick comments ongoing. The first one is continuing to meet with the community members on the east side about parks and trying to dig into some past concept about park use, ADA compliance, and how we can solve some of these issues with public-private partnership. And I have to say, Director Minter's been great. It's an ongoing conversation of the next path forward. And then the other one is dogs off leash. That's a huge issue as, and I know from all your nods of heads, it's not just our neighborhood. The good part of so many new dog owners is there's so many new adoptions, but the challenge we have is how do we move forward and how does the city support education, then enforcement? So that's something that's really big, especially I just was at a park yesterday and a little 2-year-old got tackled again by a huge off-leash dog. So I think the city is becoming more and more at risk of liability and we need to really move forward. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would like to make a note that at 4:06, Commissioner Andrade Vallarta entered the meeting.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Glad, any comments this afternoon?
No comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to welcome back Commissioner Andrade Vallarta. She's same face, just different district. Would you have a few comments at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to remain on the commission. Super excited to continue the work that we've achieved so far. Yeah, so happy now to remain on the west side and continue to support and now represent District 4.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Brown, welcome and share your comments.
Thank you all for having me. I'm happy to be here and I'm proud to be representing the 5th District. And was so thankful for Councilmember Reynolds' nomination the other night. I guess I might just say a few words about myself. The reason that I am here is that the issues around the arts and public spaces mean a lot to me. They are the passions that animate a lot of my work. And my background is in arts and humanities administration. And so I'm currently co-directing a University of California-wide research institute where I oversee program development and management and communications and staffing and all of those things. But my passion was for art history and those related topics. So my dissertation for my doctorate was actually on public art. And I worked on topics, based in Europe in a different time period, but questions around how public space is used, how arts are integrated, are why I'm here. And I this morning just had a chance to read the Arts and Culture Master Plan and was really excited to see it speak to a lot of the reasons that I want to participate in this commission. And so I'm just looking forward to learning from you all, learning from the staff at the City of Costa Mesa, learning from my neighbors, and contributing. And I guess I might just change topics. I'm the newbie, so I will own that and perhaps step out of bounds. But I was interested in the email that Cynthia McDonald submitted and some of the issues she raised around ticketing. And so I guess I just want to come with questions that perhaps at some point we can discuss. But I'm curious if the commission has discussed this issue in the past, and if so, what the consensus was. I'm curious to hear from staff around what are the purposes of the bike permits, and what are some of the, I'd be curious to know what are the challenges versus the benefits of it. And then I guess I'm ultimately interested if the commission would be interested in moving forward in what Cynthia McDonald recommended in terms of repealing that. So those are some of the things that I was thinking about as I read her email. And maybe lastly, I'll just go on public record to say she'd asked at the very end of that email if people were interested in working on, what was it, the Open Streets initiative that they're working on. I would just like to go on record to say I'd be very interested to work on that. And I'm excited to be here, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown, and we are pleased to welcome you, and your expertise will be valuable, very valuable to us on the commission. I'll follow up with just a few comments. Again, congrats to our certified arborist, now new maintenance service manager. I'd also like to acknowledge Director Minter, who represented Parks on a Tuesday night, well into Wednesday early morning, giving the city an update on all of our partnerships and the activities and the services that we have provided over the last year. And it was a great presentation. Thank you, Mr. Minter and staff, for doing such a great job.
And don't
I'd
forget
also-
Raja. Raja was in there too.
Yes, I acknowledge that you were there too, Raja. Also, I'd like to share with the commission and the community that we're welcoming back the Costa Mesa Playhouse, which has been on hiatus for over 18 months. They're launching their 56th season on September 24th, and with the play Silent Sky, about the story of the Henrietta Levitz, the astronomer. And so if you're interested in seeing our little community playhouse, you can go to costamesaplayhouse.com. Two other comments. I'd also like to invite each of you to the Costa Mesa Senior Center, second floor. Ronald Shee's artwork is now on display. He has over 20 pieces of colorful art, Indian art, Native American art, and masks and clothing. So it's a really exciting exhibit that we're proud to welcome to our city. And finally, for staff, I hope that you'll be able to address for us later when we can expect the opening of facilities for reservations for the Norma Herzog Community Center and other community facilities. With that, now we will move on to new business item 9A. Donation of memorial bench and plaque at Lions Park.
Sorry, just having a little technical difficulties getting that on. Can everyone see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Ashendorf, commissioners, Director Sethurma. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that and your confidence. I look forward to being with you all for quite a long time. So in my new position. So we are received a letter from Miss Alicia Prieto requesting permission to donate a plaque and bench in memory of her fiance's grandfather, Angel Alvarez. The bench and plaque would be placed at Lions Park. I'm a little trouble advancing the slide. Apologies.
Try the bottom right near the minus at that little, right next to that little minus, right below. Lower. One more, right there. That one.
No.
Oh, interesting. Sorry.
There we go.
So you have two screens. Now you got it.
Yep. There we go. Sorry about that. A little technical
There we
difficulty.
go.
There's two screens. Mr. Alvarez resided in Costa Mesa for 40 years. He's remembered by his family as a loving husband, father, and grandfather. He's also remembered by those who knew him as a caring individual that would never hesitate to go out of his way to help anyone in need. Lions Park was chosen by the family as grandchildren have fond memories of their grandfather taking them their favorite park to play. A bench and plaque at this park would provide a wonderful spot for the family to gather and look back on all the fond memories of Mr. Alvarez. The bench will match the existing site furnishings, which is depicted on the left. Staff was able to identify a potential location of the bench, which is an existing pathway indicated by the star. And here's another few photos of the location with the arrow and little rectangular mark on the right side there. The plaque will be installed just in front of the bench in the existing concrete. Staff has reviewed the suggested location, determined that the location is suitable for the donated bench and plaque. The installation of the bench and plaque will have minimal fiscal impact. The donor will incur the cost of the bench and the plaque. The submitted request does meet the requirements as set forth by the City Council policy. And therefore, it's recommended that the Commission approve the request from Mrs. Prieto for the donation of the memorial bench and plaque in memory of Mr. Angel Alvarez. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Are there any questions before we open this up to public comment? Any questions for Mr. Ryan?
No questions per se, but thank you so much for moving on this so quickly. I got this request not too long ago, back in August. So thank you so much for acknowledging the family's request.
Of course.
Thank you. Are there members of the public wishing to address this item, Ms. Fatua?
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? If so, please raise your hand. I did speak with her earlier this week, Alicia, and she did mention that she would not be able to attend. So that helps as well, but I see no hands raised.
All right, thank you very much. Then we'll close comments at this time. If there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion.
Oh, go ahead, Cassius. Go ahead.
Vice Chair Rutherford.
The floor is yours, Commissioner Parker.
So I move we accept this generous donation in memory of a wonderful father and grandfather in our community.
I'll
Thank
second.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other comments at this time? I think it looks like it'll be in a beautiful location for the community to relax and watch the activities of our park. So with that, let's call for the question then, Ms. Fatua.
All right, so we can now do a roll call vote since there are no members of the public who wish to speak. Commissioner Andrade Vallarta?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
I support this. Aye.
Commissioner Dorn Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Glatt?
Yes.
Vice Chair Rutherford?
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf?
Yes,
Motion carries 6-0.
thank you very much. The next item on this afternoon's agenda is Team SoCal Cross. Director Minter.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Ashendorf. This is a request that was received by the city from the cyclocross organization, the Team SoCal Cross. There's a little bit of history in the report in which the cyclocross had held an event here in the city back in 2019. One of the correspondence items that was included with the agenda was an email from former PAC's chairperson, Jim Erickson, who had mentioned that cyclocross had also taken place at one point years ago in Fairview Park, to which I was not aware at the time of the item. So I thank him for including that information to us for your consideration. One of the reasons that I thought it important to bring this item to the commission was an opportunity for the public that may or may not have concerns to share them and allow the commission to work with the applicant to hopefully solve any issues if they were to come up. So from my understanding and from past experience working with organizations like this, cyclocross is a very unique and exciting activity to bring to parks. Sometimes it's just about a balance between a neighborhood park and the surrounding neighbors and, having an event like this that brings, more people than usual to any given park. But I think historically there's been success both at this park, Estancia/Polaris Park, and the staff have reported that the organizers were very helpful and made everybody aware and did everything that the city asked for them at the time. There is a map included along with some portions of their application And we do have a representative from the group, Dorothy, who goes by Dot. She is available, and I will ask her in a second, with your permission, Chair, to talk a little bit about the event from their perspective. The intention is that once the commission were to approve it, unless there were major issues, that if they wanted to come back and do it year after year, we would not come to the commission each year for approval. It would be more for new uses. And even though the group had done this event back in 2019, I don't know that it went before the commission, or at least I don't believe it went before the commission for some sort of a public review. So what we're trying to do is establish that pattern when groups want to bring new events to the city that take place at a park. The PAX Commission would have a chance to kind of vet it and ideally hear from the community if there were any concerns. We were a little late in getting notifications out on this. Ideally, we would have done it, more like a week in advance, but there were signs posted at the park and it did go out through Costa Mesa social media. I don't see any members of the public in attendance, sadly, but with your permission, Chair, I would like to introduce Dorothy to talk a little bit about it from the applicant's standpoint.
Thank you very much. Dorothy, you're welcome.
Hi, commissioners. Hi. You can't see me, I think, but anyway, my name is Dorothy Wong, and I love the sport of cyclocross. I've been riding bicycles for a long time, and I actually teach bicycling and pedestrian safety now in my 5th decade of life. I've left Hollywood and I found the beauty of the bicycle and all the great things that it can bring to our community. So earlier in my life, I actually became a competitive bicyclist, and I'm now 55 again. So can't believe I'm getting this old, but I still feel young, and this sport is just so unique. So cyclocross, this will be our 17th year of putting on the sport of cyclocross in Southern California. So it is an amazing sport because it's grassroots. It's friendly for all ages and abilities. Our event, Turkey Trot, this would be a Thanksgiving themed event. And Turkey Trot Cross is our holiday classic. So I guess 2 years ago when we did the event at Costa Mesa, again, there was great support from the Costa Mesa bike shops, as well. Jim Erickson, definitely a champion. And then Arliss Reynolds came and was a great champion of the event. The Unlikely Cyclist was all in. And then we even did donut hand-ups, which is kind of a fun thing. When you're racing, the kids will hand a donut. Actually, we had cupcakes this time. And then the competitor would go by and grab the cupcake. And, so it's a full, it is really all ages. We have Kitty Cross, which is any age. We had Community Cross, any bicycle, well, any age, usually under 6 years old. We have a youth division, age 6 to 9, and those kids love it. And they do the big kids course. So the course ends up being about 1.5 miles that sort of meanders through the park. And if you look at the park design, we call it the Circle of Doom because it's also called the cinnamon roll. You actually have to ride in a circle to the middle and then make your way out. We have really, again, age 6 to 9 is the youth division, and we even have age 70 plus with competitors, also national champions at age 78 compete in cyclocross. And again, it's male, female, all ages. We're dividing it over 2 days in case, we need to make the categories smaller. It's a very niche sport. So it's not like 10,000 people. It's really, I think we had 250, 200 people. And then you race in waves. So we'll send out, we usually put the juniors, which is the youth and the juniors all go out at once, but we score them separately and we start them in separate waves. So if we need to put less people out there, we'll divide the categories over 2 days. Otherwise, we're looking at doing, 2 days, the weekend. And we usually get people from out of town as well, because a lot of people have roots in California or they want to get away from the snow and the weather. So they'll come to California. So I've spoken with your, I don't know if you call it the tourism division, but we have some hotel rooms blocked as well. And we're also trying to bookend the weekend prior, also in Orange County, but kind of looking at seeing if we can focus on the Costa Mesa hotels, you know, to kind of bring some hopeful revenue to your community as well. And then we're also looking at, since when we do a weekend event, we can also then have a restaurant, like Saturday night, we might all meet and go to a certain restaurant or two sort of thing. So I just spoke with them yesterday to try and line some things up. And this sport has also sort of evolved so that SoCal Cross, cyclocross, is now something that we've been doing at different city open street events. So we've done City Cross in Long Beach, downtown Long Beach, and also their open street Beach Streets event. We actually turned a parking lot into a kiddie cross. San Fernando, same thing. We took a parking lot, we created a bioswale, and we had our advocacy organization called Amigos de los Rios, and they create pocket parks. So we had a little sort of, since, you know, normally we do these in parks or different natural settings, we kind of created one in a parking lot. So that's also been an amazing spin-off that this sport has done, because it is all ages and abilities. Even we had the Vernon Police Department, they came out and zipped around on the city course. So I think that's why all these years later, the only sport that I promote is cyclocross. And the rest of the time, I am an advocate of bicycling and educator. In fact, we were just in Placentia working with I think Yorba Linda and Placentia are the same school district. So we just did a great skills building. And so that's another thing that we could do, is kind of bring the sports. Maybe I had mentioned it to Jim at one point, and I don't know if I mentioned it to Jason, but you know, thinking a couple of weeks before, you know, we could go, hey kids, you know, we can, it will be Thanksgiving, but you know, we could do a little demonstration, or we would like to set up on Friday so we could have a little skills clinic Friday before. That gives us time to set up the course, but also offers opportunity. And then the other specialty we have, and this park is very popular for dogs, is we do doggy cross. So we have a little kitty cross course at our actual cyclocross race. And then we have a doggy cross division. And then we race in a small course. It's literally just a mini course that's in kind of the blacktop spot of the park. And then it just kind of morphs off into the grass there. So basically families come, teams come, riders come. And I would say in 2019, the Costa Mesa event was a fan favorite, one of the best races of the season. And I think we put on 14 races in 2020, what was it, 2019. Anyway, if you have any questions, we would love to come back, and we really loved the vibe of the event. And so did the competitors. And I think it's just a great community event, and it could also spawn off as these mini kitty cross open street events where we just, you know, do some supplemental programming, and the skills that come from it really helps the kids. So a lot of the kids that start when they're young, you know, are riding their bike to school, you know, and just all kinds of different ways to really empower people by bicycle. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Wong. Well, I know that former Chair Erickson got his claws in me and roped me in on 2019 to come and see the event. My husband and I attended and thought we'd drop in for a few minutes and stayed for several hours. It was very enjoyable, hung out at that circle path, just thinking, how do these young people do this, maneuver that path over there? I do have a couple of questions, either for Director Minter or Ms. Wong. First of all, Friday, how would this impact Balearic Center? And the second question is, how has this and the last event, did it impact the parking in the neighborhood?
I'll go first. From the staff's perspective, the application that we'd received up to this point was only for the Saturday, Sunday. So that is all that we were presenting to you today. I know when we had an original meeting with Dorothy and their representatives of their group, they had talked about quite a few other different opportunities, like with the animal events as well. Bringing it back, doing a 2-day event as opposed to the 1 day. It was our recommendation that we limit it to the 2 days max, and then make sure we didn't start too early on the Sundays. People do like their Sundays to sleep in. The only other concern that I had, or that we were putting in the recommendations, which is page 2 of the report. Well, there was a number of recommendations, some to do with amplified sound, some to do with notifications of the neighbors. That way, if people had any special circumstances, maybe somebody has a big party that day at their house and they want to make sure they have some parking available to them, that those notifications get out at least a couple weeks before so that the neighbors are aware. The only final piece I'd like to point out was, the difference between the map that was provided and what was in the recommendation is that they keep the course off of the marked fields. Having 100, 200, 300 bikes or whatever go through it can, do some damage, and we don't want to create a maintenance issue that we have to respond to in a short period of time, because, we do have sports groups that want to use those fields the following weekend. So those are some of the conditions that we would ask the group to comply with. But I think, having it grow into a 2-day event is great for year 2 or 2.5, or however you want to call it, based on what happened at Fairview Park years ago. But I'm all about growth. I appreciate their willingness to reach out to Travel Costa Mesa and get that organization involved in anything they can do to support restaurants and hotels and shopping and bike shops and all that in the community is very much welcome from the city's perspective. But I think that those were my responses to your questions. I'm not sure if Dorothy has anything to add.
Sure. So usually what we do is set up. So I think before we did one event or 1 day, so we had set up the day before. But usually what happens, again, we've even put on events in Griffith Park at the Greek Theater, or other events where it's a very popular park. And usually what we do is we have these, we mark the course. So we set up like the quote expo the morning of the event. And then we are going to start the schedule at 9 a.m. It would be the first event. We can move it to 10 if that's an issue, especially, because it's 2 days. And I know a lot of people who live in Orange County, live nearby. So I could move it to 10 if that's an issue. But what we normally do is we have these plastic step-in stakes that have a 4-inch spike. So it hasn't been an issue with sprinklers before. And then we lay out the course. So usually we'll just mark the course with, the stakes. And then sometimes we use flour or some sort of, mechanism that's not paint or anything like that, that then lays out the course. But usually we'll walk and we'll just lay the stakes down. And if people are enjoying the park, we just don't use that spot. So it's kind of a passive setup where we're not locking people out of being there. And we just have our one equipment trailer is pretty much it. So we just mark the course. And then as the day goes on, and we usually don't start early in the morning on Friday.
Right.
It'd probably be like midday, just to beat traffic. Probably
Perfect.
mid-morning. Mhm.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. I'd like to open it up to the other commissioners with questions. I see Vice Chair Rutherford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not a question, just a quick comment. I'd like to, extend my strong support for this. And I think based on just, the public feedback I've seen on this or the lack thereof, this doesn't really seem like something that I think needs to come to the commission. I would hope that our community understands the benefit of these kind of events. And I understand, if there's a new kind of event that could be disruptive, bring it up for public input. But I also do want to express my support for by right approval of these kind of permits. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other commissioners wish to address the issue? Is there anyone here from the public, Ms. Patua, that I might have missed?
If there are any members who wish to speak, please raise your hand. I see no hands raised.
Thank you very much, and we'll close comments. All right. Well, I would like to show my support for this as well, and make a motion to recommend that we approve the application from Team SoCal Cross for a cyclocross race at Plaque Estancia Park over the weekend of November 27th and 28th. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then we will call for the question.
Commissioner Andrade Vallarta,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorn Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Glab,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rutherford,
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf.
Yes,
Motion carries 6-0.
thank you, Ms. Wong, and we look forward to seeing you on the field.
Thank you very much. We are super excited and enthusiastic to come back to Costa Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I do encourage you to send any promotional materials to us. And you're welcome to come back before the commission, prior to. I don't believe we're going to have a November meeting due to the holiday, but you're welcome to come back in October and do a little publicity piece. That's also another reason why the commission can help publicize activities and events. And I always encourage groups, if they are trying to get the word out about their programs or activities, to come before the commission and speak under public comment, and they can, broadcast or publicize any events they have coming up. So thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you to solidify this permit.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to monthly reports. The first is the Park Rangers report. Are there any questions or comments or a motion to receive and file?
Just
Oh,
a comment or two, Commissioner.
Okay, I do see, we'll go to you, Mr. Minter, and then Commissioner Rutherford had his hand up.
Thank you. Just based on some of the questions and concerns that have been raised over the year, over the last few months regarding the information in the Park Ranger report, it's merely informational purposes for the commission only. It's not necessarily the commission's jurisdiction to decide about some of the citations. Now, that doesn't mean public comments can't be made. I do share that information, that feedback with the lieutenant that's responsible for the report. And now with the new police chief, working for the city, I can share that information with him as well. But, some of the things about different citations and I don't disagree that Ms. McDonald made a lot of great points in the email that's provided to you in the correspondence, as was mentioned during public comment. But I just don't want the commission to get too caught up in what the police department is doing, because that's not the realm of the commission in terms of how citations are made. Now, there has been discussion about should bike licenses be required? Is it lawful? Yes, a lot of those will be vetted by the city council through the police department and not through our department. So it's really more informational. I know we've had a lot of focus on those bike licenses, and I don't want to go too much into that again, because that's kind of outside of our area. But I think the report is helpful to a commissioner to see what's going on in our parks, and the fact that they give us a breakdown, park by park, is fantastic and helps us kind of monitor, from a staff perspective or commissioner's perspective, what's happening in each park. So if you have any questions that, don't pertain to some of the information that the police department's responsible for, I can try to help, but I do value this report and I want to keep providing it and hope that it's a tool that commissioners can use. And then any feedback, just know that we will be sharing that with the police department.
Thank you. Well, here goes the hands. Commissioner, Vice Chair Rutherford.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Minter. I just wanted to acknowledge Stanley Garcia, the park ranger whose name is on the report. I hope, Jason, you could extend, the warm regards for his service to the city. He's West Side born and raised native, and I think he's an excellent addition to the park ranger enforcement team. And I'm really proud that he's a member of the park ranger team out there serving in the parks. So,
briefly, a former Parks commissioner.
Yes, the words out of my mouth. Yes. But obviously he can't oversee. So anyways, so I wanted to definitely extend that to Stanley. And then also on regards to the report, I did forward some correspondence just for your awareness, Jason and Laura. The same issue that Cynthia brought up in her email, I also brought that up in the summer of 2019, very specifically with members of city staff. And basically exactly what Jason said now is along the lines of the discussion that we had then. Each of us as commissioners, I think I would encourage you all in that spirit, of having, productive I think we have a credible city council, but, we're always welcome to offer input to them along that front. But I think it's an element of city code that needs to, obviously be looked at. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Yeah, I guess I have two parts. One is, as you brought up, the park ranger, Stanley Garcia, are we going to be scheduling any sort of ride-alongs? I would really appreciate when it's COVID safe, because then I would really get a perspective of what the rangers confront and what they're, kind of what, as our chair has said, it really is informative. And then the other part is, even though it's technically not our purview and oversight, but bikes are part of recreation and bikes are part of the other part. And it brings up a question about the antiquation of some of these municipal codes being sort of the old wise owl around here. I hope not wise or the old owl, being in the city since 1983, and seeing how the bicycling license was all surrounding youth education and it wasn't used as enforcement. It was more of a tool of education. I'd love for us to evaluate like what Cynthia McDonald is saying, and really understand, how do we use bicycles as a tool to keep our children safe, especially with e-bikes? How do we re-engage the schools for those bike rodeos? How do we use it as a carrot and not the stick? And that's as my perspective of the history of the bike license and access to a license, instead of having it keep people away from using bikes correctly. I mean, we have this huge issue with e-bikes, and I'd love that all to be wrapped up in sort of that conversation at the city council level. But I also think, as we sort of oversees recreation and how the parks are used and making sure there's bike racks, I do think we individually can really begin to just have discussions with our city council members about the antiquation of the municipal code and its use for today. Thank you.
And just for clarification as well, is if the city council asks the commission at some point to dig further into it, I think that, we may have to balance between the Bikeway Walkability Committee, which has a vested interest in this. So I'm not sure what direction that will go. As for now, it's something that we've talked about at our internal leadership meetings, so that it is aware there are discussions that are happening about it, and maybe outside of my purview. So I can't speak to what's going on within the police department right now, but I do share the feedback from the commission to my police department contacts that provide the reports. Not necessarily Stanley, but the lieutenant responsible for the park ranger program. So I value your input. I don't want you to feel like your input isn't valuable. I don't want us to get too diverted into the topic of citations and police responsibility.
Thank you, Director Minter. And I would just like to underscore what Commissioner Dorn Parker did say about the ride along with the park rangers. I had that opportunity. I think you might have, Vice Chair Rutherford. And it really does open your eyes to the activity and actually the beauty of our parks in a different way. So I hope that we will have the opportunity to share that with our other commissioners.
I will definitely let them know that you're interested. We'll see what the protocols can be for implementing a program like that again.
Thank you.
I'd go for the helicopter ride. I want the helicopter ride.
One ride at a time. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the director's report.
Thank you. I will take this. I'm only going to say a few words, and I am going to turn it over to Monique, who shortly after the last meeting, you know, she mentioned how much of that information was her programs in the recreation division. So I will let her be the focus of that. But for those of you that were able to watch the council meeting on Tuesday, there was a staff presentation to the council showing, you know, some of the accomplishments, a lot of the accomplishments over the last 2 years, 2+ years, including things related to the pandemic. Our portion was significantly hit, you know, our department, in that employees were let go and programs were cut and parks were closed. So for us, the numbers over the last 2 years haven't been the same as some of the other departments, but I think since we've started to reopen, you know, there's been so many positives. And it's the programs that were created, the grocery distributions and the Meals on Wheels, some of which existed in some form or fashion. You know, the amount of meals we were able to serve or distribute, the amount of groceries, 364,000 pounds or something, I think was amazing. And not without the help of nonprofit partners, but still it's a collective effort. And I think if you haven't seen that presentation and you want to know a little bit more about what goes on in the city, that is a great way to learn. It's directors themselves giving you, you know, actual data regarding police and fire response times and calls and what's happening through IT and, you know, the finance department and public services, all the awards they've won and the projects they have going on, like the Merrimack and Merrimack Way. So I definitely would encourage you to watch that. There was a lot of great information shared. We do have a council strategic planning session this coming Monday. It's a day-long event which directors and managers will meet with City Council. It is open to the public, but we will talk about strategic goals for the next 6 months, and that was what the report was, kind of the wrap-up from the last 6 months. Going back to this report, you know, like I said, I'll let Monique talk about a lot of the program things. I wanted to touch on the capital projects. There was the design and some management contracts that were approved for the Jack Hammett Sports Complex project. That was approved on the agenda this past Tuesday. We hope to start that project in December or January. They still have to approve the actual construction contract, but we're moving along with that to increase storage and improve parking at Jack Hammett, as well as creating more accessibility. So those are 3 great components for that part. The Downtown Aquatic Center, we have a bit of bad news in that the bid process hit a snag, but we are continuing to explore ways to get the pool replastered because it's much needed. Kevin was very excited about that potential project. And then we are working on a monument sign and perhaps some other improvements at Neff Park to go along with the recently renamed Civic Center Park to Neff Park in honor of the former police chief, Roger Neff. So there's a little schedule of activities. On the bike topic, I did want to mention that SOY, the Save Our Youth program over on the west side, is putting together a bike program. I know Monique's been working on a bit. She might be able to speak to that as well. But with that, I will turn it over to our recreation manager, Monique Villasenor.
Thank you.
Thank you. So since you had mentioned the bike night, I'll start with that real quick. SOY is working on doing something in October. They're focusing on SOY youth bike safety. So, and it's a clinic that they've had, I think, in the past before. And so we're looking to partner with them, not just the recreation department, but I think all other city departments as well. They were planning this for tentatively in Saturday, October 9th, where they are going to have free bike tune-ups, helmet checks and fittings, We're going to be decorating helmets so you can register your bike with Costa Mesa PD, learn to ride your bike safely in town seminars, enhance your bike's visibility. So all kinds of good stuff that they're planning with this event. And so we're happy to be partnering with them and looking at ways that we can help enhance their event there. So that's coming up. And once we have a flyer from Soy, we can go ahead and we'll post that through social media and send that out. Speaking on our programs, you know, we always say summer is the busiest season, but fall is the school year. And I think we have a lot of great programs, specifically with our ROCKS program. That's the after school program that usually takes place at 11 sites. This year we're only doing 9 sites, and they're the most in-demand sites at the elementary schools that we have. We do have wait lists. We are still working on recruiting staff. So still, if you know those kids that need jobs, we are having another recruitment event coming up in October 14th, 15th, and 16th. That will all be held at the Belair Community Center. So still, if you know people that need jobs, send them our way. We are constantly hiring, and we can use them. So because our program, specifically our ROCKS after school program, is popular, and we can always add staff to those to accept more kids from the wait list. So just going on, reviewing, we had our events in the summer. Our last Movies in the Park was the Harry Potter Read It, Watch It event. We had about 150, and it was very cute. Kids got to win raffles and search for the golden snitch and play Quidditch at the park. So we had a lot of fun activities before the movie. Going on to our upcoming events, we do have Scarecrow Fest coming up October 16th. I encourage all of you to, if you have any interest in creating a scarecrow, go online to costamesaca.gov/scarecrow and submit an entry, your application for a scarecrow. We encourage all sorts of creativity. I think Director Minter might be submitting one. But you know, we're advertising this everywhere, and so we really want to get as many scarecrows submitted as possible. It is a little bit different of an event as compared to previous scarecrow events. We're looking at really enhancing the fall Halloween activities and making this a bigger event at the event lawn at Lions Park. So look for it to have lots of kids activities, a costume contest, decorating pumpkins, all kinds of good stuff there. We also have our Barktoberfest coming up, where same kind of fall event just for pets. So, and that will be over at T. Winkle Park. And then also we've been working on the virtual art venture. We are sticking with an art venture this year. We didn't get to have it last year. And this year we are planning a virtual art gallery. It's in the works. The call for artists did go out live this week. So you can always go to costamesaca.gov/artventure and look at our website there and submit your application and artwork. It is a juried art contest and to get into the art gallery. So there's a lot of information there, and we are excited to bring back this art venture since we didn't get to have it last year. We look to do it in person in 2022, but this is a unique way to still showcase people's art. And I think that's it from my end.
I do want to thank Monique and all of our staff. I mean, we're still in that kind of hybrid where we're shutting down some of our internal inside events unless people are wearing masks. I believe, Chairperson, you asked about rentals of Norma Herzog. We're being very selective about it for 2 reasons. One is we're still struggling to get staff. As Monique mentioned, we had job fairs. We have had some success in bringing people in. Unfortunately, it's where the outflow of staff and people getting other jobs has continued. So we're filling positions. We've had some internal promotions. A little over a month ago, when Laura got promoted from the front desk, that created another vacancy in the department. We've recently announced the appointment to fill that position, and there's kind of that trickle down. So, we're filling positions, but sometimes it's internal. So we do need these job fairs to help get people in. I think the last one we did over 3 days, we brought about 20 applicants. Unfortunately, not all 20 end up, making it through, whether it's their own personal decision or, scheduling and things don't work out. But, we're still short staffed. The second part of it is just the indoors and do people want to do indoor events, and are they going to all wear masks, and who's going to patrol it? And so we are very limited in any indoor events that we've been doing at the Herzog or anywhere. So we're hoping, as Commissioner Rutherford said, that people continue to get vaccinated to get to a place where we can go back to doing more indoor events. I've heard that the numbers are getting better in Orange County, which is a good thing, but even as a state, we still have a ways to go. So with that, that concludes the director's report from August, and either Monique and I are here to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions of staff? I would just like to say, Ms. Villasenor, watch out, because Cultural Arts Committee has a scarecrow in the works, so we will be there with ours. And she didn't give all the pizzazz to the art venture virtually that I just can't tell you how excited I am. Even though I miss in person, we have software, we're going to have galleries to go into. And so it's going to be really a great event right out of the first shot for us. So I'm really excited to see what Ashley and the committee are doing in that direction. And finally, I encourage all of you to get on your bikes and ride over to Fairview Park, because there are now bike racks. And it's really joyful to be able to put your bike somewhere at Fairview Park. So
if I can make one final query of the commission, and this is kind of in line with what I just said. Are we ready to go back to an in-person live commission meeting in the chambers? There is a little bit of tech training that you may have to go through as a new commissioner that may not have done it before, or as a previous commissioner that has done it before in the chambers. Maybe you want a refresher, but are we as a commission, or are you as commissioners ready to go back to an in-person format? It would likely change the time. And then obviously the Zoom has been a hybrid option that they've been using for city council meetings, but we would be opening up the council chambers to an in-person meeting that would probably start, I believe it was at 6 o'clock is a commission start time. So, I guess by a show of hands, is anybody against the idea of going to an in-person meeting in October?
Is that what works best for you and your team, Jason, as staff, is going back to in-person? Or, I mean, I just wanted to make that comment because, you are on the front lines, your team doing this. So I just want to make sure, this set up whatever's best for you guys and your team.
The council chambers are set up for safety. As you can see, if you've attended or watched a council meeting, there's plexiglass partitioning off all of the council members. There's adequate space for staff to sit and be comfortable. And, our commission meetings, I hate to break it to you, they're not the most popular activities in town. We don't always have a huge guest list. So I think we're comfortable doing it. The Planning Commission has been meeting in a hybrid fashion for a couple of months now. So I didn't know if there was a rush or if anybody had any concerns. Either way, I think tonight we'll adjourn the meeting to October. But we'll have a little flexibility to work with the city clerk's office on getting into an in-person format. Commissioner, you asked about if it's a preference thing. I love in-person meetings. And, while I'm not excited about extending my workday on a Thursday, that's how the commissions, I think, it should be. That way the public has more access. The people that are working, the 8 to 5 jobs can get off work and come if they need to. And I think once we go back to in-person, there's other opportunities to have the public come out and be maybe a little bit more willing to engage with the commission. I know it's easier in a Zoom format, but sometimes it's, it should take that effort to come to the commission in order to promote some of these events that are happening. The community Playhouse that you mentioned, Chair. I hope that we can get back to a commission format where the public feels engaged with our meetings. So that would be the goal. It is going to be a bit of training, so you may have to open up some of your time, when the clerk has IT staff available to assist. And that means me. I would assume that would mean Laura. we're all going to need kind of a crash course. So, no one's on an island here. It's going to be all of us kind of learning together and rifling through it. I don't know of major items on the agenda. It looks like Rob may have jumped off. But we are trying to bring an item back to the commission to consider the library, the Friends of the Library donation request for the musical instruments. I just need I'm waiting on a proposal from them to be able to bring it forward to the commission. So that could be an item that comes at the October meeting. But based on the last Thursday of the month schedule, we will likely be dark both in November and December.
So in other words, what you're saying is you would train us for October if we reconvene in person and then forget all of that in November and December.
I'm not suggesting that anyone would forget that, but yes, that is a scenario.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, it would be in person, would be starting at 6, not the usual 4.
Correct. We should have been pushing back, I think, the 4 o'clock start time. That was part of the furlough discussion and the impact on staff. So yes, the pre-pandemic commission meetings were in the evenings.
Yes. And generally 30 minutes prior, is that not correct, Jason and Vice Chair Rutherford? We would gather 30 minutes in advance to review if we had issues on the agenda.
I'd heard that was an issue, or that was done in the past. I don't see that as being necessary. I mean, it could be something that we talk about later if you guys feel something like that's necessary. But from my experience running commission meetings, I don't know that that's necessary, but we can evaluate it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, we don't see much pushback on changing the time, but Commissioner Vallarta.
Well, I was just going to say, as long as you continue to provide the wonderful youth programs like Rocks, I'm happy to continue to join at 6 p.m. So yes.
Great. All right. Well, that said, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting to October 21st.
Do we want to review the correspondence, Chair? Is that before the adjournment, or that was just part added on? How do you want to work with that?
So the correspondence are included in the agenda as something that has been received from the community for all commissioners. It's not necessarily an item for discussion. I tried to work those two into different conversations under the items. But correspondence is not necessarily, it's not intended to be an item for discussion during the meeting. It's more for the awareness of the commissioners. We do have the till 11 o'clock on the day of to be included in the packets. The one from former Commissioner Erickson on cyclocross probably should have been included with the cyclocross item as a supplemental piece of information. But it's, I mean, if there are comments on things that are correspondence, that would usually be things that you mentioned during your commissioner comment section. Okay. But again, it's not items on the agenda for discussion.
Thank you.
Chair Ashendorf, I just want to do a few corrections because you said adjourn to October 21st. The next meeting would be October 28th.
Thank you very much, Ms. Villasenor. Yes. All right then. So
would you like a motion for adjournment then?
Yes, please.
Chair. About it, or Mr. Parker, did you have a question about the correspondence, or was there something you?
Well, what I'd like to do, but I was going to talk to you and the chair offline, but I can do this now, is I'd like to see us agendize what the request is from the chair of the Bikeability and Walkability to see if we would like to also put a request forward to the city council that they re-examine the municipal code around bikes, and not just about the bike license, but how should we as a city provide education resources and support, but also at the same time, whatever the police and the city council believe would be good for the future of biking, because the goal is to have way more people bike, way more of our youth get involved, and as we age, but that I'd like to see that on the next our our next commission to see if we want to also do a formal request of the city council.
Noted. Thank you.
And just on that front, Jason, as something that could potentially be very little work for you and Laura, just as to pass on as a recommendation to City Council, if Commissioner Dorn Parker and myself just wanted to draft a simple one-page resolution, give that to staff for your review, and then that could be something that's just passed along to City Council. Is that something you're willing to consider?
I will work with our leadership team. Raja, I believe is on the call still. I will talk it over with him as if the initial request came from the Bikeway Walkability Committee that he's a part of. And I'll talk to the city manager as well about, the best course of action. Maybe it's something that's already started. But again, yeah, we'll work together as staff and either have an item for you or have a response to that request in October.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jason.
Thank you. Then I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right then.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. See you in October.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.